Perez just dropped a bombshell on Liam and Tsunoda, and it's not what you'd expect. The two drivers who replaced him at Red Bull are now stumbling. Perez says the car is nearly undrivable for anyone but Max. He pulled no punches. Want the full story straight from him? Stay tuned till the end. This is real, explosive, and the kind of insider truth that's not clickbait.
It's just the whole dynamics of the team, you know, that everything is driven. Obviously, they have a unique talent over there with Max and everything. Yuki and Liam, they've scored like 5 points or something like that. So it is very, very difficult, very tricky, and they're fantastic drivers. You know,
The fallout begins. Let's rewind. Sergio Checo Perez, Red Bull's long-standing number 2, was suddenly dropped at the end of 2024, despite throwing in multiple wins and memorable support for Max. Red Bull swiftly signed a 2-year contract extension with him mid-season, yet by December, he was suddenly shown the exit. Shocking? For sure. Red Bull's rationale? They blamed a dip in form. But Perez says there's more to it. On the Desdi El Paddock podcast, he revealed, "I know that deep down they regret it. I have that from a very reliable source." He pointed fingers at crumbling internal dynamics, loss of designer Adrian Newey, exit of key sporting figure Jonathan Wheatley. Perez believes those losses fractured Red Bull from the inside and made his seat unsustainable and unprotected. What makes this even more striking is that Red Bull had just spent much of the season assuring fans Perez was secure. The Monaco contract renewal was meant to silence critics, but instead, it only added fuel when his dismissal came so suddenly. Many insiders have since questioned whether the dip in form excuse was really about performance or simply politics. Perez himself hinted that Red Bull never gave him the full public backing he needed, leaving doubts about their true commitment. The timing of Adrian Newey's departure also raised eyebrows, since the legendary designer's influence often shielded drivers from harsher decisions. Without him, Perez was exposed to the harshest scrutiny. And perhaps most telling, within weeks of letting him go, Red Bull's second-seat experiment started to backfire, proving his point about the team's instability. The replacements falter. Enter Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda, the two drivers suddenly thrust into Red Bull's unforgiving spotlight. At first, the announcement sent shockwaves. Fans praised Lawson's raw speed, while Tsunoda's fiery personality and Honda backing seemed to guarantee fireworks. But reality hit fast. In 2025's opening rounds, both drivers struggled to keep pace with Max Verstappen. Lawson's consistency looked solid, but he lacked the killer instinct to really push the 3-time champion. Tsunoda, meanwhile, suffered from errors under pressure, reinforcing old concerns about his temperament. The comparison was brutal. Verstappen continued dominating, while his teammates faded into the midfield. Suddenly, Perez's warnings didn't sound like sour grapes. They looked like prophecies. What shocked analysts most was how quickly the optimism around the pair evaporated. Lawson's debut shine from Singapore 2023, where he outperformed Tsunoda and impressed Red Bull bosses, seemed like a distant memory once he was forced to deliver week after week. Tsunoda, despite showing flashes of brilliance, couldn't string together consistent weekends, and frustration began to spill over in radio messages that made headlines. Both drivers were under immense scrutiny. Every mistake was magnified, every gap to Verstappen criticized. Even former Red Bull insiders like Mark Webber suggested the team underestimated how hard it is to thrive under Verstappen's dominance. By mid-season, chatter had already begun about whether Red Bull had made the wrong gamble by letting Perez go. And while Lawson and Tsunoda's talent is undeniable, Perez's bombshell that no second driver can realistically succeed in the Verstappen era suddenly felt strangely accurate. Nothing to prove, Perez's comeback plan. Sergio Perez has been clear. Despite the criticism, he believes he has nothing left to prove. After 5 years alongside Verstappen in one of the most demanding seats in Formula One, Perez insists his record speaks for itself. From taking victories in Azerbaijan, Monaco, and Singapore to being instrumental in Red Bull's constructors' titles, the Mexican has built a career that few on the grid can rival. But beyond defending his past, Perez has been sharpening his future. Instead of chasing validation from Red Bull, he's aligning himself with Cadillac F1's long-term project, aiming to become the centerpiece of their Formula One entry. He views this as an opportunity to step out of Verstappen's shadow and prove he can lead a team, something Red Bull never truly allowed him to do. This move also signals a shift in his mindset. Perez no longer wants to be judged solely by comparisons to Verstappen, a generational talent who dismantled multiple teammates. By committing to Cadillac, he positions himself as a driver who values stability, vision, and leadership over short-term results. For him, the comeback isn't about silencing critics, it's about building something lasting. The narrative now flips. Instead of being the driver who couldn't beat Verstappen, Perez could become the veteran who lifted an underdog manufacturer into genuine debate. That's a legacy play, and one that might finally free him from the second driver tag that has followed him for years. This isn't just about revenge or redemption, it's about restoring passion, reclaiming dignity. After a rough exit, he's picking his own terms for return. And honestly, that's inspiring. The fallout puzzle. What does it mean for Red Bull? Red Bull now finds itself in the middle of a messy fallout. Perez's parting shots at Lawson and Tsunoda don't just offense egos, they raise legitimate concerns about the team's ability to manage its succession plan. With Max Verstappen firmly locked in as the star driver, whoever takes the second seat has to endure near impossible standards. That dynamic, Perez argues, makes Red Bull's long-term driver strategy inherently unstable. For Red Bull, this isn't just about one departing driver. It's about maintaining control of the narrative. Every time a replacement struggles, it reinforces Perez's point that the second seat is a poisoned cup. Internally, this could erode confidence in Christian Horner's management style and Helmut Marko's selection process, sparking tension about whether the team is truly setting up its younger talents for success. The bigger risk is how sponsors and partners view the situation. Red Bull has long marketed itself as a talent factory, pushing young drivers into the spotlight. But if the public perception shifts from opportunity to career graveyard, it could discourage fresh talent from fully buying into the Red Bull development ladder. That image problem could linger far longer than the struggles of one or two drivers. Even Verstappen himself could feel indirect pressure. If every teammate stumbles, the narrative grows that Red Bull is a one-man team, and that may cast doubt on the team's adaptability in a post-Verstappen era. Add to this the swirling speculation of whether Verstappen might eventually walk away or switch teams, and Red Bull suddenly looks more fragile than its dominant results suggest. In short, Perez's bombshell isn't just gossip. It forces Red Bull to confront uncomfortable truths. The second seat isn't working, and unless they fix the formula, the team's future dominance could quietly unravel beneath the surface. So, what does all this mean? Liam Lawson's bold words have cracked open a door Red Bull desperately wanted to keep shut, and now the spotlight is on whether Verstappen can maintain his dominance without the shield of a compliant teammate. The power struggles, the looming 2026 reset, and the unanswered question of who dares to step into that second Red Bull seat keep fans hooked. And here's the kicker. This story isn't over. Behind the scenes, whispers of Verstappen's future, Lawson's next move, and Red Bull's brewing internal politics are only getting louder. If you thought today's revelations were explosive, wait until you see what's about to unfold next season, because the real battle may only just be beginning. And if you don't want to miss a single twist in this saga, make sure to like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, share it with fellow F1 fans, and subscribe to the channel because the next chapter in this Red Bull drama might just be the most shocking yet.